Welcome back to Talk Tuah. We're your hosts. I'm Cam.
And I'm Pete.
And today we are doing a deep dive into the premiere episode of the MdFoodieBoyz Podcast.
That's right. I mean, this is our first time straying out of the Halieyverse, the Haliey Welch universe, in which, I mean, for the past 15 weeks, we'd been covering Talk Tuah, and then we covered her appearance on Bill Maher. She's been on sabbatical. We don't know her whereabouts, when she might be coming back onto the podcasting scene. But in the meantime, I mean, there's so many podcasts out there for us to cover. I think it'd be good for us to research some, like we have done with MdFoodieBoyz, and just kind of like break down what makes a podcast great, so that, I mean, we're more informed when we assess Haliey's episodes.
And and Haliey's podcast is always going to be there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this we hold it dear to our hearts, and it wasn't easy transitioning to MdFoodieBoyz this week, but I mean, I think we're stronger for it. I think we learned a lot from this, and I'm happy to be along with this ride with you, Cam.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, look, this was quite the departure from Talk Tuah stylistically. I mean, let's just get into the, I guess, overall feeling of the. We're going to go beat through beat, cover the podcast.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about how it felt watching it.
Yeah, of course.
For me, fast-paced, high energy.
Yeah.
They're marching to the beat of their own drum, and Neil Peart is behind that thing.
Yep.
I mean, it was frantic, honestly, and I think it gave a sense of, I was like watching it, and it felt like spontaneous, like anything could happen.
Yeah, I think we got a little too comfortable with the sort of breeziness of Haliey's show. I mean, this is its own beast.
That was more structured cutting. It was more like A to B cutting. I say something.
Yeah.
Cut, you say something.
Yeah, with this, there's a lot of cross chatter among the four gentlemen. Should we name them? I mean,
we got Ryan, Emmett, Jackson, and I want to say Hayden.
I want to say Hayden too. I mean, we scrubbed back with the playhead a couple times to see if we could rewind and catch his voice. And every time Ryan said it, introduced him, I just was not sure. Hayden is my closest bet. I mean, if any of the Foodie Boys care to chime in, I mean, we'd love to call Hayden by his correct name. But yeah, I mean, we got that introduction pretty early on. We can assume that they actually did immediately share that they are in Maryland based off of their name, but they also said that they were at the cross section of Bel Air and Main Street.
What's up, everybody? Today we're at the podcast studio on Bel Air Main Street.
Which, how many podcasts are going to dox themselves within the first minute?
Yeah, this was a bold move.
They're not afraid. They're almost saying, critics, come at us. You know where to find us.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the door's unlocked.
If you don't like the scores we're giving some of these chicken sandwiches, you can come tell us face to face.
Yeah, I appreciate that they have this sort of, bravery, I guess. Like a lot of podcasters hide behind their studio. They hide behind the mic. And I think that is a common concern and complaint with a lot of podcasters, is that they aren't open with their fans and their audiences.
No, and when you start a podcast, you need to put it all on the table.
That's right. Day one, full transparency on where they're recording, where you can catch them.
So now I really feel like these guys, I'm getting to know them.
Yeah.
I like that. I feel like they could get political. I would just start, you know what? I'd buy that.
Let's circle back to some of the technicals real quick, though, because I mean, you brought up the frenetic editing style and pacing. Mm-hmm. I mentioned briefly the cross chatter. I mean, that cross chatter I felt really got to be a bit rough at times. I do kind of wish they had maybe a higher fidelity sound system. I'm not a sound guy. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but if they just had, maybe more expensive microphones to more accurately discern between the voices, so that it wasn't, because sometimes when they all talk, I wasn't sure if it was Ryan, Hayden, Emmett, Jackson.
Look, that's just stylistically what sets this apart. They're kind of pioneering this new wave of podcasts where it's like you're hanging out with these guys. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. Yeah. A lot of sharing of ideas. As for, I think, your biggest gripe, it sounds like that electrical humming sound, which...
And then third, I'm going to have to go with the Twizzlers. Twizzlers. But
you get a professional sound guy in there for a day. set the sound system to negative. You could set a frequency to kill that, the refrigerator.
Buzz, I think it was negative 60,000 hertz. I think
in post-production, you can take that out.
Parametric equalizer clears that right up.
Yeah. I'm almost wondering, though, if we could start the troubleshooting by just checking the XLRs. Maybe it sounds like a jack is a little loose.
That's a possibility.
Something's unplugged. There's this electric humming throughout the entire podcast.
Yeah.
Fix that. I do want to push back a little bit. Hate to do it. I think the sound, some of the cross chatter, I think you need that because I think this podcast, it's taking notes from the post-impressionist movement, I think.
Interesting.
Where you might look at that and say, oh, these guys are sloppy. You might throw that word around.
I wouldn't go
I don't
that
know.
far.
I don't know what you're assuming, but I think it's intentional.
Okay.
You should keep that in mind because, I think it comes down to everything. Even the framing. You look at Ryan's frame.
Yeah.
The mic covering his face, right?
Yeah, it really did.
So I would compare that to Starry Night, where you have a massive olive tree blocking my view of this beautiful town on a wonderful night.
Yeah.
Why have that tree in there? Why not give me a better view? Was that an accident? Did his paintbrush slip?
If I had to guess, it's probably to add depth to the painting.
Well, there you go. So now re-examining this podcast, I would say some of these details made it feel like, oh my God, this was made by humans.
I'll push back again. I mean, it sounded like with these voices all clattering together at once, it sounded like a number of voices piddling around in a shallow pool. There wasn't much depth. But, I mean, we can agree to disagree. I don't mean to go in too hard on
I think
technicals.
I think working together to find a middle ground here, if anything, they're probably working with, maybe a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
They are in a nice studio, so they're probably spending most of their lunch money on that.
Yeah. I mean, we have to keep in mind that, I would suppose that these four gentlemen are middle school aged roughly. And, I don't know the kind of finances they have. I don't know if they're on some sort of extravagant allowance system, more extravagant than what I was raised with, and I assume you might have been raised with.
How much were you making a week with allowance?
Anywhere from $5 to $10.
Now, does that include picking up sticks?
No, sticks it was more of a seasonal thing, so that would be like an extra like $4 on top when it came around. I was doing more of dishes and vacuuming.
And this wasn't $10.99. This was all tax-free money. You might have been doing these chores in Puerto Rico.
It was honest pay, if that's what you're getting at. It was certainly all honest.
But you took home when it was under the table.
Yeah, but it was honest.
Okay, so I guess what I'm just wondering, though, is you have these four guys. They're all doing chores, so they're 4Xing their chore money.
Okay, and that buys them all this gear and the rental space? Or do you think the gear comes with the rental space?
Well, I don't know how they do things in Maryland. Are they legally allowed to book a podcast space with all cash?
Oh, yeah.
Unless I don't know what these guys are getting paid. And, these days, everything is so unregulated. It's like if I had a kid, I'd probably pay them in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You can't trace their wallet. The government's not going to find that money.
Yeah. There's no FDIC insurance anymore.
Yeah, that's right. So, these kids, I'm sure they're getting around it somehow, but it's important to keep note that they're not shooting in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
They're shooting in Maryland. So the podcast studio is definitely going to be more affordable.
Yeah, that's true.
This was a 20-something minute episode total, so it's not like they have a crazy runtime of like 2 hours.
Yeah, they aren't running up the clock. They keep this bite-sized, pardon the pun, relating to all the food.
I appreciate it.
This was this was a food-filled episode, but they packed it all within a clean and neat 20 minutes, which I was very impressed with.
As was I. I was also really taken aback by their opening sequence. They have a really sick ass, almost Michael Bay kind of transition editing pack.
Whoever on that team handles the After Effects or the graphical rendering, hats off to you. That was some really nice work to bring us in and out of the segments and the episode itself.
Now, what did you think of, before we really get into the nitty-gritty of the episode, what did you think of the studio?
It was dark.
Crepuscular.
Yeah. But it housed all four of them pretty spaciously. They had interesting things going on in the background. A lot of like wood paneling gave it a rustic feel.
It was rustic but new, kind of like a rustic cyberpunk, if you will, because behind Emmett or to the right of him, there was kind of this blue neon strip going up the wall.
Yeah, looked like maybe they'd borrowed a set piece from Tron.
That's right. And then behind Hayden and Jackson, there was kind of an open doorway that the gaffer decided to, turn on a backlight there, a fill light.
Yeah, and it looked like maybe like a back patio door. It looked like it led into a backyard. Before the light came on, it looked like maybe a fridge. It looked like a stainless steel fridge.
And that could be the source of the electrical hum.
That's true. That's what I thought up until the gaffer struck that light. So I don't know quite where the hum was coming from at that point. Maybe the unplugged XLR or not fully plugged in XLR. But it did seem like there was maybe an outdoor space that this leads into.
Well, and then behind Ryan, it was mainly just the, dark wood paneling. And, for sure, that was the shot where the mic's covering his face.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main shot.
Well, let's talk about the frames then. I want to get into this because oftentimes we'd start with Ryan's frame.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful. He's centered pretty appropriately, right? Center of frame, Wes Anderson kind of shot.
I mean, he introduces the episode. He leads all the discussions. I mean, I think he's definitely the group leader of the whole pack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he masterfully steers the conversation throughout it. But
he's the shepherd of the flock, but
he's not without his flaws.
And I wanted to get into that.
We will get into that.
Because stay tuned, we will get to what I thought was some of the most illegitimate work I've ever seen with food scoring.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, let's not put the cart before the horse here, though.
No,
we got plenty to run through.
But we will be, holding Ryan's feet to the fire.
We will, because we want the boys to improve week after week. I mean, podcasting is all about improving and growing and learning about yourself and others.
But so, Ryan shot, and then Emmett also, there were two solo shots.
Yeah,
it was Ryan
right.
shot and Emmett shot.
Although there was also a solo shot on Hayden. It was seldomly used, but I noticed it.
It was zoomed in though, right? From the two?
Maybe that's all it was.
Because it was blown out. It was blown out.
Yeah. I guess the quality was a little lower when it came to just Hayden solo. Yeah, it was mostly just Ryan and Emmett got their sides of this table to themselves, and then Hayden and Jackson were forced to share a side. And
they tried to remedy that with a side shot of Jackson and Hayden, which ultimately was just a side profile of Jackson.
Yeah,
I think it served him pretty well. Hayden wasn't honestly too
didn't look too flattering from that angle.
No,
it was certainly blocked out by Jackson's head.
Do you think that Ryan and Emmett are paying more in chore money for the space? They get the solo shots, or do you think their knowledge of the food industry is what takes that?
Yeah, I mean, I look at Ryan and I could easily see him pushing a lawnmower around a couple days a week.
I'm sure he's helping out his dad find drill bits at Home Depot. And Emmett, he's shoveling snow every winter. I mean, look at that guy.
Yeah, and when it comes to Hayden and Jackson, I guess I don't want to put this on them, but maybe they aren't making their beds as often as they should be.
Well, that's why they're in the bunk bed shot. Maybe if they can start doing more chores, they can graduate to solo shots. Until then, they're going to be sharing the frame.
Wow. I mean, should we get into the meat of the episode, like the lively conversations they have?
I'd love to.
Yeah, it starts with the discussion of Halloween candies. They rank their top 3. This is the first ever ranking on the show.
Did this feel appropriate seasonally? This episode was posted when? 2 months ago?
Yeah, I believe it was maybe end of November, early December. So, they missed the window on Halloween by a little bit. But, I mean, Halloween could easily still be on their minds. I mean, just a month out, I'm sure they are still snacking on candies from the 31st.
And I like that these guys aren't trend chasers.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the rankings were quite interesting.
Let's break down Ryan's first.
Yeah. So Ryan comes out the gate saying purple Skittles, but that quickly he's met with backlash, and then he folds.
Purple Skittles only. Only the purple Skittles.
No.
Yeah. I mean, some of the flavors are bad. Like the purple kind of tastes like medicine.
So this was a rocky start for the leader of the conversation, but he admits that they do taste like medicine, but he stands by Skittles in general as being his number 1 pick.
Yeah.
The other colors are good.
Yeah, so he kind of got beaten off that purple and just had to go a little bit more broad there.
Yeah.
Number 2, he said peanut M&Ms. He got specific, and he met less resistance this go around.
But he does say sometimes they get too wet.
He was just covering his ass there. Yeah. I think Jackson was kind of eyeing up that as and I did sense some strife between Jackson and Ryan.
Yeah.
You know, I think Jackson is desperate to get his own shot.
Yeah. He's going to be coming for the king when he can.
But the thing is, we're not going to be seeing any regicide yet because Ryan was flip-floppy this entire episode, right? We're going to get into more specifics, but...
A bit Janice-faced.
He had glass bones. The minute you pressed him on anything, he folded, you know?
He really did.
He's real Patrick Mahomes. You touch the guy and he's down. He flops.
Yeah, just rolling around in the muck. But, I mean, he recovers with a clean number 3 on his Halloween candies.
Well, and also, all that to say, he's like that, and still, he's the group leader.
Yeah.
Right.
He does keep the throne throughout this. But Twizzlers is his number 3, and he stands by that. There's no resistance. He's happy with listing that as number 3.
Makes sense. I guess they vaguely taste like medicine.
That's purple Skittles, you mean?
Well, Twizzlers, I guess, to me, a little bit kind of have that.
To you personally?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of them. I'm surprised to see a guy like Ryan list that in his top 3. I mean, that's high up there.
Well, it's very much like, I want to say old soul, but I think it's pretty timeless given the fact that he started off with something, I feel like, very fresh and new, purple Skittles.
Yeah.
And then ended with something that maybe your grandpa would be chewing on.
Yeah. I was struck by the fact that he's not really a chocolate guy. Sure, he had M&M's as number 2, but it's either peanut butter or pretzel, where that kind of like overrides the chocolate element of it. And it's like, typically when I think of Halloween candies, chocolates are up there.
You're thinking of a king-size anything bar.
Yeah.
But he was willing to forego that size for some of these, more exotic
snackable
tastes.
Treats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them, for sure, as a middle schooler, are acquired tastes.
Yeah.
I was not eating Twizzlers until probably 10th, 11th grade.
Yeah, Skittles are also just, they're acidic. I mean, they were tough to get to.
That's a gateway to Warheads right there.
Yeah, I think I was cracking into those maybe 8th grade. And so I don't know. I mean, Ryan, I think he's maybe got an advanced palate.
He's eclectic for sure. And let's go over all the boys' picks.
Yeah, of course.
And then this will give us some clarity. I want to move on to Emmett's picks here.
Yeah, great picks.
Number 1, Milky Ways.
Yeah.
Number 2, Twix.
Yeah.
Number 3, Reese's.
Yeah. Emmett's list really resonated with me.
Chocolate. Nothing but chocolate.
Yeah. And that comes damn close to what my list would look like. So I saw a lot of myself in Emmett's picks.
But how do you feel about Milky Ways over Twix?
See, that is where I would differ.
And I know you would.
Yeah, Twix is got to be number 1 or 2. It's number 2 for Emmett, but Milky Ways is an interesting number 1.
Because that's realistically the kind of candy you get. Like when a substitute teacher brings in a bowl of candy for like good job guys, it's going to be
left behind.
Nothing but Milky Ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just like, what's in that mousse? Is it like a chocolate mousse?
I've never been fond of Milky Ways.
Yeah. Or am I thinking of Three Musketeers? I'm getting my chocolates mixed up, I think.
I know you'd probably have Reese's on your top 3, but let's wait to reveal them.
We won't do our grand reveals just yet.
I want to get into Jackson's picks because I think he was kind of coming for Ryan here with his number 1 pick, Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
He's saying, I got that gruff.
Yeah.
I got that kind of dog in me.
Yeah, I can handle the sour.
As not only somewhere on your top 3, but the number 1.
Yeah.
The titular. That's your candy right there.
Yeah, he's popping these, just breaking no sweat.
Number 2, he had M&M's.
Yeah, not sure. I guess we just go with the original plain M&M's as I guess what his entry would be.
Number 3, we're looking at Reese's Cups.
Yeah, and I want to flag this that every time the boys list their rankings, the candies are spelled out on screen in a helpful graphic, but Reese's is misspelled. Reese's is spelled RESSE', which it's 2 E's, not 2 S's, just for future reference.
I mean, I don't know what kind of English class these guys are in. Yeah, I don't know how much of a hard ass they have on a teacher.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, the most important thing with that subject in middle school was more so just, broad understanding, reading, thematics.
Yeah.
I think spelling to me was never that big of a... It's almost like to me like dates in history. It's important.
Yeah.
But when you really understand these things, like they're going to probably go over like, the Iliad soon. And once they got that under their, on lock.
Then it's the Odyssey.
Yeah. And then they can get into the nitty gritty of spelling. But for me, not a huge deal breaker. Yeah. Definitely something to flag.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you bringing that up.
I think it's important to note to our viewers as a companion podcast that, there are these things to take note of, whether they're intentional or not by the artists and the content creators behind it. It's just something to take note of.
For sure. And again, with some of those things, I would always take it back to the art world and say, people sometimes would look at like a Warhol painting or something. Yeah. Say, oh, my kid could have done that.
I like looking at Warhol paintings.
Well, but then, I think the appropriate response there is, but did your kid do that?
Yeah.
Right, because you're going off a feeling. These guys are pioneers.
Yeah. They're doing things the way they think things should be done.
And you know what? Let me just add on to your critique here.
Yeah, please do.
The spacing of the letters on the on-screen graphic.
Yeah, the kerning.
It is too tight. Yeah. Way too tight.
Yeah, let's spread these out a little bit more just so it's more legible. I mean, these things are coming up and they're gone in a flash. And so it's just important that the audience can, latch onto them when they're there. Let's get to Hayden's top 3.
And I think he was definitely giving Jackson a run for his money.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one after the other trying to big dog each other, which, I mean, it's exciting to see that kind of competition already early off in the races of this program. But, yeah, I mean, Hayden comes in with Airheads as number 1.
And then that was number 1. And then I think he kind of slapped Jackson across the face by throwing Sour Patch Kids as number 2.
Yeah.
He's saying, oh, that's your favorite candy? I like it, but it's not that great.
Yeah. He's like, I eat that for lunch.
He's basically saying, yeah, sure, I'll eat that if there aren't Airheads around.
Yeah. So
Airheads. Pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. I didn't even really get a note of what Jackson, how his expression might have changed in that moment, but I imagine he kind of swallowing some pride there.
Absolutely. And then I think number 3, and I'm honestly going to have to say Hayden for me was my favorite list out of all the boys, because number 3 coming in with Snickers.
Yeah.
And again, this is just a trendsetter right there. None of the boys had mentioned that. I thought it was a very welcome inclusion. So he has Airheads, sweet, Sour Patch Kids, sour, and then Snickers, kind of that chocolatey, savory. That is the most well-rounded list out of all these guys.
It is.
I think for me, something like Emmett's list was way too one note, all chocolate. Yeah. Something like Jackson's picks, a bit too erratic.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the through line with those candies.
Really just a mixed bag.
And then Ryan's list, honestly, I can't really believe one thing he says here.
Yeah, he backtracked too much.
Because when you don't have the integrity to stick with your gut,
your top 3,
it's going to fall flat.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the lists?
I just want to reiterate that Emmett's is probably my favorite. It's not perfect, but I did appreciate Emmett's taste. I thought his range of chocolates was certainly impressive. But I mean, I can see where you can appreciate Hayden's. Hayden's is definitely eclectic. But yeah, like you said, well-rounded. And he actually went so far as to ascertain that blue Airheads are number 1. Red is a close second. So that does, change it a bit for me.
Really?
Yeah. I always kind of like the mystery Airheads a lot.
I was going to say mystery are my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about the mystery of it. It's just not knowing. It's really, it enhances the experience tenfold.
Absolutely, but I think that's almost like you ask like a film nerd what their favorite movie is, and they're gonna give you some film you can't even find on Criterion.
Yeah,
I think Hayden's saying, I know that mystery's the most popular. I'm a little off the beaten track.
I would certainly agree. It actually, this devolves into a contentious debate over whether purple or orange Airheads are better. I mean, this kind of tore the group apart. But I mean, to each their own. I mean, purple versus orange, it's certainly a great debate. I don't know. I can't remember if I've ever had a purple Airhead.
Don't think I ever had. Or
is that newer?
I honestly think I've only really snacked on the mystery ones.
Yeah, I would say, I think maybe I'd had a blue, just didn't impress me. But mystery certainly did, and then purple and orange. These sound like newer additions to the roster of Airheads. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we should give it a try at some point.
It's nouveau candy. I mean, I think some of the more established brands would, spit in that direction. But, for any kid on the scene right now, I think Hayden's list to me really stood out. Now, I want to know, what are your top 3 candies?
For Halloween or just
for Halloween?
Year-round?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Twix. Oh, I'm getting caught up in this. Twix and Kit Kats are definitely, they're up there for me. They could go either 1 or 2. I don't mean to muddy the tier here, but like 1 or 2, definitely interchangeable. And then 3, I'm gonna go with Junior Mints.
Okay. Now keep in mind, this is Halloween candy. I don't want to get into the economics of it, but again, if you want the bang for your buck, you want to go king size something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even with Hayden's pick, love it, but an Airhead, picking an Airhead as opposed to a massive candy bar, you're not getting the most value there.
No, you aren't. You're not even getting a box.
So you'd really go Junior Mints?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a king size box of that.
Okay.
I mean, certainly they're hard to come by, but when they land in your Halloween sack, that's just, I mean, my eyes pop out of my head. I'm like, oh, that's valuable gold.
Yeah. And number 3?
Junior Mints.
Wow.
I mean, Kit Kat, Twix are interchangeable. Actually, I'll say Twix number 1. I'll land there. Kit Kat number 2. I mean, how about yourself?
Number 1, without a doubt, Kit Kat.
Okay.
I like that kind of wafer chocolate. Yeah. It's got a nice crunch to it, and you can get a real big one. It's nice and sleek. It's like the Ferrari of candy to me.
Yeah.
Number 2, I almost want to say chocolate turtles. That's just because my father, they're his favorite candy, and I think it's very sentimental for me to.
I got to push back here. Yeah. Chocolate turtles?
I know it sounds quite awkward, but anytime I see a chocolate.
What kind of block did you grow up on?
Well, my dad really likes them, and I think if I were trick-or-treating in LA and I got some chocolate turtles, it made me think of him, and I'd smile. So that's just a sentimental thing. Okay.
But to be clear, you were getting these when you rang the doorbell at certain houses.
Is this what we've gotten, or if I could pick Halloween, I'll take chocolate turtles number 2. You can get a big bag of them.
I just, I've never encountered them in any of my years of trick-or-treating.
And number 3, I want to say a nice fat Toblerone bar.
Okay.
Nice fat Toblerone.
I thought you could only get the 7-Eleven. Do houses typically stock up on those?
Sure. I mean, you got to go to the right houses. And again, with the tariffs incoming, I don't know if those are going to get so expensive that you're just not going to see them anymore.
Yeah, that's a Swiss candy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you got to go to a certain neighborhood to find them.
Yeah.
But it's well worth the visit.
Certainly a finer chocolate.
Yeah, I mean...
It's interesting. I mean...
These are my ideal chocolates, I
mean, you definitely... You were gifted the ability to explore your palate at a young age, I guess. I mean, that's interesting. But I do think it's important that we applaud the boys for not, listing...
Well, and I have to say, this is not a classist list by any means. I mean, a Kit Kat, that's a very populist candy. That's in every...
Yeah, but undergirded by 2 nouveau riche candies? What is this?
Chocolate turtles are very cheap.
I don't.
It's Toblerone is the most expensive one by far, but you can realistically get it for probably $1.79 at checkout for a little 3-mountain one.
Chocolate turtles with the caramel and the pretzel.
That's right.
I don't buy that. That's really 3 complex ingredients in one.
Okay, well look. I mean, again, you have to go to the right neighborhood for these.
Okay, and I do think we should take a moment to applaud the boys on not picking Milk Duds. None of them listed Milk Duds. I just want to point out that those things suck.
Milk Duds, yeah, you definitely don't want to see those. And I think none of the boys, I was happy none of them even threw in an apple as a joke, a caramel apple.
Yeah.
Because that's just, you don't want to break your jaw at a young age.
That's not really a Halloween candy.
No.
Yeah. And they didn't pick Whoppers either. Actually, we should note that. I mean, Whoppers, what is that?
I was surprised no patty mints at all.
Yeah.
It's got a nice kick to them.
Those do. They got some flair. They make your nostrils flare up.
Put some hair on your chest at a young age.
Yeah, they do.
Now, around 2 minutes and 42 seconds, it was revealed that the boys are drinking McDonald's soda.
Yeah.
What did you make of that moment?
Well, in the moment, didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, I guess they went to McDonald's before this. But we learned some critical detail and context as the episode unravels. That they did go to McDonald's and bought chicken sandwiches there. But we will get to this. But I mean, it's interesting. They're snacking on soda. Excuse me. And, that's interesting. I mean, that's got a lot of fizz. It certainly makes them bubbly, prone to burping on the podcast.
But do you think it was almost too favoring of McDonald's because they were reviewing, 4 chicken sandwiches. One of them was the McCrispy.
Yeah.
And there's, sipping on something from the McCafe. Do you think that could have affected as just opposed to a can of Coke?
Extra time for the McDonald's brand on screen is what, you think that might color their judgment on things, or there might be strings.
At least that's what I was worried about. We're going to get into the ratings in a little bit, but it didn't affect the scores, which I was happy about.
Yeah, we will get into that in more detail in a bit. But I actually, around the 2 minute 42 second mark, I noticed that everyone was wearing white except for Ryan, who was rocking some black, like a black shirt. It looked like maybe like an Under Armour mesh shirt, not mesh, but whatever that nice fabric Under Armour does for their shirts.
Is it like more of a polyester, kind of more of a spandex type thing?
Yeah, it certainly stretches to fit the body, I think. But
it's a dry fit, maybe almost like Nike material.
Yes, that's the technology.
I think, yeah.
But the other boys all rocking white, so it was interesting. I mean, Ryan's outing himself as the black sheep in the group, but that might be why they chose him as a leader. That maybe he's got the most unique senses and taste and style.
Well, again, I think when you have a big podcast with a lot of people, it's hard to kind of guide the conversation. I think Ryan pretty deftly wove it so that they were hitting topic to topic. They kind of bounced around the 3 minute mark. They got back into, how old is too old for trick-or-treating?
How old do you guys think is too old for trick-or-treating?
I feel like sophomore, junior in high school.
I agree with that.
Is there a particular age for you that strikes?
For me, it was freshman year of college. I think that's when I probably outgrew my britches. How about you?
I remember trying to go or just grab a candy bar.
Yeah.
In 2019, I was just taking a walk around the block. So by this time, I was 21.
Okay.
And this old guy, I'll never forget, he said, a little bit too old to be doing that, huh?
Really?
Now, he called me out. I was just going for one piece of chocolate.
Okay. No, this wasn't a Toblerone, was it?
No, it's just a Kit Kat.
Okay. I mean, maybe old man was thinking he'd have to remortgage his house if you got your paws on that.
Well, look, the boys had a compromise saying it was junior year in high school was too old. Emmett was kind of lowballing 15, but then as high as 17.
Yeah.
Ryan said, 16 and a half.
Yeah, right down the middle.
So we were able to wrap up that kind of loose end. And then there was a jump cut around 4:11 again.
I agree with that.
What?
We have figured out that.
And then, I mean, back in the trick-or-treat discussion, Hayden, I do think it's important to note that he acknowledges there's parties to go to when you're older. So I think that's maybe why the boys associate with growing up with phasing out of trick-or-treating, is that maybe you phase out of trick-or-treating into parties, which I think is crucial to note.
And it almost, at a certain point, it's you go from trick-or-treating to supplying the candy yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a bit further down the line.
It's pretty secular. No, I mean, for us even, I'm like, we're 26. I think next year is the year that we could probably afford to get a little bowl for something for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I wish we had more of a stoop. I think that's one thing we're lacking, is that if we had time to just sit out with the stoop, because, our door, we don't have a doorbell. We're pretty non-traditional in that sense.
We could get a Ring camera.
We could do that. I just think we're a little bit concealed from the street, and it's just tough for, the youngins to maybe find where the next candy might be. I'm interested. I think we should, and maybe we just have to stand outside, make sure to layer up if it's cold out, but that would be fun.
Well, if it's cold in LA, we'll make sure we got our own dry tech on.
Yeah.
But listen, Jackson revealed a little bit later that he had never tried vegetables, only French fries.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a joke. If it was, it didn't quite land for me.
Yeah. They were.
I'm not trying to kill Tony him right now, but it just didn't work.
Yeah. And the other boys kind of held him to it. They were like, that's the least vegetable a vegetable can be. Like a potato. Are you serious? And when it's fried.
And it also turned out that Ryan is a celery truther.
Yeah.
You catch that?
I don't understand how celery has like 0 calories or like close to 0. I think
celery's good.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he really is doubtful that celery is really 0 calories. Like, it kind of boggles his mind. It's certainly hard to wrap one's head around. I mean, I heard actually that celery is less than 0 calories, that the calories you burn chewing it makes it like negative calories. Because on its own, it's 0 calories, but then you're burning with your mandibles and all, and so this apparently it's a way to burn calories is eating celery. So I mean that might blow Ryan's mind. I mean to learn that it's not just 0 calories.
Well, he does love broccoli. He admitted with the kind of he said white sauce in a party tray. I think he was referring to ranch.
Yeah. I don't know if there's maybe like a Parmesan dip or something.
It could have been a blue cheese.
But ranch is certainly the most traditional for a vegetable party platter, I think.
I think so. Ryan also revealed he doesn't like carrots or Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he's ever tried broccolini, but that was a big one for me getting into broccoli. I went through the broccolini pipeline.
Wow, broccolini. I mean, someone's really into fine dining. Someone should get Allison Roman on the phone.
Well, I have her book. Now, Emmett reveals he hates mushrooms and tomatoes.
Yeah, Emmett, I'm really rocking with Emmett so far. I mean, based off his Halloween candies, those really resonated with me. But I also don't really love mushrooms or tomatoes. I actually hate mushrooms. I'll go that far.
I hate mushrooms too. What do you not like about mushrooms?
They're like fleshy. Yeah. They're like weird. It's also they just taste like crap.
I don't like the texture of them.
I don't know. Maybe that's something you grow into.
Well, the one mushroom I do like is a nice lion's mane. I'll substitute that for a steak, a New York strip. Lion's mane, put that thing on the grill, cook it up. So nice.
What a revelation. I mean, I really had no idea that my taste was so pedestrian compared to yours. This is fascinating. I'm learning a lot.
Well, do you like tomatoes?
Tomatoes I'm also iffy on. I mean, I've gotten more adjusted to them on sandwiches and whatnot, where they just kind of blend in. But I don't know. I don't like eating them in a casserole or anything. They don't. I'm not really rocking with that. Even in chili, I'm just kind of like the less chunks, the better.
Yeah, I can't really get behind tomatoes, really in any situation. Now Ryan hates pickles.
Yeah, and this is a motif of the episode.
Yeah, guys, just something to know. If you are if you're serving chicken sandwiches in Maryland and you throw pickles on it, it's not gonna end well with the Foodie Boys.
Yeah, they will hold it against you pretty severely. As we go on to learn that they will dock numerous points from your final score if you tamper with pickles on their sandwiches. So, yeah, Ryan hates pickles.
He hates pickles.
If there's one takeaway from this episode, it's that he really just does not rock with pickles.
No, not at all. Now, all of this must be Mongolian to Jackson, right? They're breaking down all these different types of vegetables. He's not really piping in at all. This is I don't know if he understands one word they're saying.
He's never tried a single one of these. Not even lettuce.
No, and then moving on, 6 minutes, around 16 seconds.
All right, so it's either a
little bit of flash cut. Again, in the editing bay, let's just give these edits another pass, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you've given it numerous passes, but what's one more at that point? Let's just hammer out all the kinks here. We get into the discussion of Chipotle orders. I mean, I thought this was incredibly fascinating because I do think that your base, like what one picks as their Chipotle base, says a lot about them. And I was on team MdFoodieBoyz with white rice and black beans as the overriding majority choice of bases with grains and legumes.
I was shocked that none of them said did a 50-50 split. Like that was one Chipotle hack that really rocked my world. That you do half cilantro rice, half white rice, half pinto bean, half black bean.
What cilantro is also in the white rice, but you're
whatever
saying like,
kind of the right. There's two types of rice.
You're running the gamut. You're doing all four of the options.
I mean, you want a zesty burrito, you're gonna want to mix it up.
I don't know about that, but maybe I'll consider it.
What are you sticking with?
Just the white rice, black beans.
Okay, right. Well, then you're definitely gonna be friends with Ryan.
I certainly am.
Now he would throw some chicken, maybe even pastor chicken. He was saying on that.
Yeah.
Queso, guac, corn, cheese, and sour cream.
Pretty good. I mean, it's well rounded. Got some greens. Got some. He's got corn for the yellows. Certainly interesting. Jackson, I learned, was more traditional. He just does burritos. Does not mess around with bowls. So he likes things wrapped up, more handheld, and that's the way I go.
See, this is where I definitely feel a kinship with Jackson.
Yeah,
I can't do a bowl.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the tortilla. The tortilla really sells it for me. And his order is the white rice, black beans, cheese, and chicken. I mean, pretty simple.
Now, did he clarify was it cheese or it's just queso, right? Is he? No. He's not going for another kind of cheese?
No, they have shredded cheese. I think it's shredded jack. No, I could be wrong.
So he's for the shredded cheese, not the queso.
No, not the queso. Unless he was mistaken, because I mean, typically when you say cheese at Chipotle, they will take it as just the shredded cheese because the queso costs extra.
Right. So Ryan's balling on a bit of a budget there.
Ryan is, yes.
Ryan,
he's adding the guac.
He likes adding guac and adding queso.
Yeah.
So again,
he's running up the tab.
He's certainly helping his dad out on weekends.
Yeah.
So that was impressive. Emmett, he's a little bit more just stripped down, deconstructed. White rice, guac, steak, and lettuce. He also doesn't mess with bowls. How do you feel about the steak inclusion there?
I've been more on a vegetarian kick, minimizing meat in my diet. I've cut out red meat for quite some time now. Steak, not my kind of way of going.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like with this burrito, do you think he means kind of a sort of filet mignon type thing, or do you think he's fine with just more of a flank cut or something?
I mean, I think Chipotle might use porterhouses, but I could be mistaken. I don't know if there's really filet mignon option at Chipotle. They might add it to their menu. But, I mean, he's definitely more high class, I guess. I mean, beef is certainly a...
It's not extra, though, is it?
It's not extra.
But maybe you could go extra with a nicer cut of the cow.
But I think it's about the mentality you're in when you're ordering cow.
Yeah. Now, Hayden, he goes burrito or bowl. So he's kind of the first flex that's open to a bowl. White rice. Now he is no beans, chicken, lettuce, and then corn.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing any green in this meal. No. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I like green vegetables the most. It's really the red of tomatoes and like the brownish of mushrooms that throw me for a loop. But I think greens are good. I think
they gotta be.
Yeah, I think they could. I think the boys in general could probably use some more veggies in their burritos. Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, and it doesn't hurt to have the basics. They're getting their proteins and their grains, and that's good.
Now, I will say Hayden's Chipotle definitely wasn't what I was expecting.
Really?
After his Halloween candy list, I think a list as well rounded as that, and then kind of just doing a more traditional kind of burrito threw me for a loop.
Okay.
Did you see this coming? Maybe more than I did?
No, I guess I didn't really connect the dots there. So I didn't really, nothing really popped in my mind. There was no sirens going off when I heard his burrito order. But I do want to point out that at 7 minutes, 31 seconds, there was a harsh sniffle.
White rice.
One of the boys must have sniffed into the mic.
we were getting sniffles, coughs, and also just flat out chewing throughout this entire episode.
Well, I mean, it's a food-based review podcast.
It is. So, you get what you came for.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think during a section like that, maybe we could switch to kind of a, maybe there's a boom op that's just getting more room tone.
You want them to do it more like ASMR style, closer to the microphone, where you really pick up the sounds of the chewing?
Well, I'm wondering if we could do it with a boom mic that's just catching more of the room tone.
Okay.
So it's not as direct into the mic. It's still there for the ambiance.
Yeah, I'm not much of an ASMR guy, so I think that's the route I would go.
Now, again, it all comes down to budget. I don't know if they could, a good sound guy's what, $200-300 a day in Maryland? What are you guessing?
Yeah, that's probably about an extra month of chores.
Yeah.
But I think the boys could muster it up, and I think it's a worthwhile expenditure down the road. I mean, they're just getting started, and we'll see how the podcasting turns out for them. And I'm excited to see how they grow and develop.
Now, before we move on, the boys have never tried the Chipotle pinto beans.
Yeah.
Do you think they need to get out of their comfort zone, or do you think they're fine where they are?
I'll be honest, I've never tried the pinto beans.
Okay.
I trust that they're good. I just don't trust that they're better than the black beans.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, look, I need you to expand your taste buds if we're going to be talking about these foods.
Hell, if I'm spending $13 for a burrito or a bowl, I want to make sure I'm getting stuff I really do enjoy.
I feel that. I don't know if we can really give these lists justice unless we've tried really everything they have.
Yeah.
So
but we should note that Ryan loves the Chipotle quesadilla. He says the cheese is perfect.
It is pretty good.
At 8:04 is when we get to the chicken sandwich showdown. Title card comes in, awesome graphics, and they're off the races.
Graphic pack. Now, this is a 4-way horse race between the McDonald's McCrispy, Popeyes chicken sandwich, Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, and a local joint, the Vagabond chicken sandwich.
Yep. Local to Maryland.
So we start with the McDonald's, the McCrispy.
And let's just be honest, they get this crap out of the way first.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the McDonald's chicken sandwich.
No, it just does not scratch any itch.
Now, you could see it on their faces. They talk about it. It was a hard first bite. Right?
It was hard for them to really stomach it. I mean, they complain about the bread being hard, which, I've had my issues with McCrispies before. Certainly hard bread. Ryan, he says he's not sure how he feels about it.
So immediately, that's the kind of characterization we were talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know where to plant his flag.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of unwavering in his judgment.
He's a man without a country.
I think he's looking to his acolytes to maybe help him out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And do they give him the support he needs?
I don't think they do, but he does taste pickles.
Anyone else getting a little taste of pickles there?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like they.
I didn't taste any pickles on mine.
And that's where, it's a 5-alarm fire going off at that point. He tastes the remains of pickles that he believes were once placed upon his sandwich that were then later removed when maybe the McDonald's employee noticed that on the receipt it said no pickles. But Ryan said that ruined it for him.
Well, now, I've watched a lot of McDonald's POV videos.
Yeah.
And I will say, the way I've seen them, make these chicken sandwiches, if it has pickles on it, they'll throw pickles on it. But Ryan was saying that they make every chicken sandwich with pickles and then they'll take them off.
Yeah.
If they don't want them, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense from McDonald's standpoint.
I mean, hell, if you're doing kind of the Henry Ford conveyor belt system of work, I mean, most people are like the workers are probably placing in all the ingredients that they think, and then I imagine there's a supervisor at the end of the line that
strips back.
Yeah, peels back the layers.
Because I'm just worried. I mean, McDonald's is all about. It's a publicly traded company.
Yeah,
they have fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. I don't think investors would like to hear that they're just blatantly throwing pickles on every sandwich, only to maybe take them off if. They don't want them. Where do they go in the trash? They're not reusing these pickles.
It's certainly something that investors should bring up at the next shareholders meeting.
Could this just be a rogue Ronald McDonald
Grimace got into the back?
Kitchen?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Is this a ghost kitchen somewhere?
I don't know.
Some guy's whipping this up in his kitchen, because this doesn't seem like something that McDonald's would condone. Because I do want to go into this. Ryan was he was giving them benefit of the doubt.
It feels like they took as you order, they took the pickles off instead of making it without the pickles. So, I don't know how I feel about that.
You really have your doubts about Ryan. You're a little bit worried about the quality of his character already.
I think I have to be, because we're going to get into some revisionism that I thought was just outright dangerous when you're reviewing things.
Okay, yeah, we will get to this. I mean, I felt sympathy for Ryan at first when I saw this moment first up. I mean, we saw him waffle on his Halloween candies earlier, but I mean, I see a podcaster who gets his food and the order was messed up, and I feel sympathy. I mean,
I listen, and I can look at him and say he's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
He's the quarterback right now. You know, you have every quarterback has, 3 seconds max till they get sacked.
Yeah.
You know, he has to make a decision. They're looking to him. Do we like this sandwich? Do we not?
Yeah. And for him, the verdict is hell no.
Now, Ryan, he did favor the sandwich, though. Even with the pickle fiasco, he gave it an 8.2 out of 10.
Yeah, he was certainly fair with it.
So a 10 is perfect.
Yeah.
5 out of 10 is you're neutral. You're not really, anything. I think anything under a 5, definitely not worth getting.
Yeah.
But an 8.2, I mean,
that's pretty good.
Ryan likes it.
Yeah, I'd say that's that's probably a good rating. 9 would be excellent, like within the 9 to 10 range would be excellent. 8 to 9 would be like
great,
above good, or great. Yeah, great. I guess the word I was.
7 is probably good.
Yeah. 6 is fair.
5 is just more like
mediocre.
It's
Yeah.
4 is
4 below.
crap.
I mean, just don't even bother. Get the CDC involved with these food establishments.
Do not get a DoorDasher. It's not worth the tip, all the fees and everything.
Yeah. So then, but the other boys, I mean, they actually were harsher on this sandwich than Ryan was. They heard Ryan give this an 8.2, and they said, Ryan, something's not adding up. For me, Emmett gave it a 7. Then Jackson gave it a 6.4. And Hayden gave it a scathing 5.7.
Yeah, the Venom came out with Hayden. He wasn't afraid to absolutely clobber the McCrispy.
I'll give it a 5.7.
Wow.
That's I see where he's coming there, the bun.
And to be fair, that's kind of more of what I expected Ryan to give it.
That's, Hayden, last but not least, right? Now, I couldn't tell if Ryan was a little influenced by the drink. Hayden certainly wasn't by the McDonald's Coca-Cola.
No, Hayden.
You can't buy his reviews.
No, he tastes a bad sandwich and he'll call it out. Altogether, the total score, I think this was an average based on all their individual scores, was a 27.3 for the McCrispy.
And I think their main critique collectively was that if they could fix the bun, it would fix the sandwich.
Yeah, the bun I think really got in the way for them.
I mean, that's half the sandwich.
It is.
You know?
I think there's mayo on it, so maybe it's more of a 4. No, it's a 3rd.
In terms of
pickles too, I mean, then it's a 4th. But
ghost pickles, the scent of pickles.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, if we're talking surface space, the bun definitely has a large amount of real estate.
Yeah, the surface area on that is probably the largest of the ingredients.
But I don't know, because in some of these sandwiches, the chicken was hanging out.
Yeah, for some of the others. I mean, I think on the McDonald's, it was more balanced, but as we see the other ones, I mean, some of the chicken, I mean, it's massive. It outgrows its britches.
Now, the Popeyes, this is truly what enraged me here.
Yeah.
And I want you to be honest about this. Because
I'll be honest.
I think you have been favoring Ryan a little bit. Okay. I'm not going to hold anything back because it was a much better response overall. The bun, it was sweeter. It was better.
They say it's not perfect, but it's better than McDonald's.
That's fair game. But Ryan chewed it.
Yeah.
And then he gave it a 8.5.
Yeah.
Is that correct on your sheet?
Yeah, that's right.
But then he actually went back to revise the McDonald's score and give it a 7.5.
Let me just rewind. The McDonald's was, now having this, McDonald's was like a 7.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we're getting closer to what it really should have been.
To knock a 0.7 points off of that sandwich retroactively.
Yeah, the retroactive was bullshit.
That's completely fraudulent. when you're pulling shit like that, look, I don't want to listen to any scores you're giving. It completely invalidates the chicken sandwich integrity.
I would have appreciated if Ryan had kept this to himself, had maybe just thought, I should have lowered the McDonald's. Yeah,
that's fine.
To put it on record as saying I'm actually retroactively adjusting it, Ryan, I do think that was a massive misstep. It definitely, it damages other people's trust in you. But
especially when the other boys aren't doing that.
Yeah.
So Ryan really, he did that. He didn't get much flack for it at all.
Ryan,
he got away with it.
Yeah, he has to stick to his guns. They didn't really hold him accountable this time around, but I hope he knows that he should stick to his guns from here on out.
Because the thing is, there already is a power imbalance with the way the entire voting situation is set up. Think about it. Ryan goes first, then Emmett, then Jackson, then Hayden. So they all get to hear each other's reviews.
Yeah.
Realistically, they should be writing down a number on a piece of paper. They all do it without saying anything. And then they hold it up like figure skating.
Okay.
Right? And then, we're not going back. Someone does a triple axel flip, whatever. And they say, that was so good. It made the last person look like shit. We're going to knock off some points.
Yeah, that would be unfair.
We can't be that fluid. We have to say something and stick with it, guys.
All right. Well, let's just go through the rest of their scores. I mean, as we said, Ryan gave the Popeyes 8.5. Emmett gave it an 8.5. So there's a little bit of a congruence there. And then Hayden gave it a 9. And Jackson gave it an 8.7, meaning the total score came out to 34.7. I think that was a pretty sizable improvement over the McDonald's.
Definitely more formidable.
Yeah.
For sure. There was a phone beep around 12 minutes, 43 seconds.
So we ordered...
Yeah, it was pretty shrill. Don't know what really caused it.
It sounded like an iPhone. I don't know if there are any on-set phone handlers.
Yeah. I mean, it would be useful for these to make sure that there aren't these like outside distractions coming in at random points. But yeah, I mean, I think this was all pretty good that they were all within a 0.5 margin with their scores.
They keep it tight. And again, I think that honestly is just a consequence of the line voting. It's the rank and file 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
It's possible that each successive boy is influenced by the boy before him.
I think they have to be, right? Because again, it's power dynamic. You don't want to be the guy, like Hayden.
Yeah.
Called out that horse 5.7 on the Mccrispy.
Yeah.
And, he's barely in the 2-shot, the side profile.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was more in the editing room punishing him for being such an outlier.
Yeah.
You have to think, though.
It's possible.
He was brave for that.
It's a bit of a revolutionary.
But Chick-fil-A, that was off to a horrendous start.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, this is just worst case scenario. Yeah. They put pickles on the sandwiches, and you're going to see that's going to add up.
Oh. You can taste the pickles now. Yep. The only bad thing is you can taste the pickles.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
And Ryan has the receipts. I mean, he holds this thing up to the camera at 12 minutes, 44 seconds. Look, the receipt from Chick-fil-A says no pickles. So don't know who dropped the ball there. But yeah, again.
No, Chick-fil-A, I don't think that, even if that McDonald's thing were to be true, I've never heard that with Chick-fil-A, that they make things with pickles and then take them off.
Yeah, well, I think they're privately owned. I don't think they're publicly owned. But again, whoever has a stake in this company, I mean, maybe check out what's going on store to store, like where there could be these discrepancies, because that's a pretty tactless maneuver to put pickles on a sandwich that was explicitly ordered without pickles.
It's sloppy at best, and again, you're going to be punished for it when the reviews come in.
Yeah.
Right? Because a mistake, maybe to the employee there that, just threw them on, whatever, it's going to get magnified when it's under Ryan's tongue. He's going to taste that. Yeah. Again, he doesn't like pickles.
Yeah, a shark like Ryan won't give up when it comes to this.
No, because he just gets even the slightest kind of pheromone there with, pickle.
The brine.
Yeah, that vinegar. Briny. Nothing of it really adds up for him.
No. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, we get to, it's important to note, I guess, that in between all these sandwiches, we get in between the breakdowns of the reviews, we get Lazy Susan shots. We get 360 views of each of the sandwiches being spun around in front of the camera, close up on the sandwiches, and then we get like the name graphic of each restaurant who supplied the sandwich in the bottom corner. For Chick-fil-A, though, this is the first time where I saw like a misspelling. They spelled it CHIC and then FIL and then apostrophe A. So Chick-fil-A is usually like Chick fully spelled out, and then there's no apostrophe, but it's just Chick-fil-A.
Right, the graphics department was just an utter mess.
Yeah.
For this episode, I was expecting more.
I'd like to see a cleanup on that aisle next time, though.
And I will just go back quickly to mention with the Lazy Susan, I was very much impressed by their sort of approach of, I think backing away from consumer culture and even kind of satirizing a little bit.
Okay.
Given the fact that the chicken sandwiches looked pretty unglamorous.
They did. They looked fresh out of the bag. No extra work required. Just taken out of the bag and plopped on the Lazy Susan.
Yeah, they were not touched up. There was no makeup or
no cosmetics.
No special effects, because when you usually watch a Carl's Jr. commercial, those burgers, they're putting glue in them.
Yeah.
They're not even using real ingredients. A lot of it is
they're using ice cream or something.
Yeah, and
no, they're not using ice cream. For ice cream, it's some other crap.
Well, for the for cheese and stuff, they'll put, I think, actual glue to make it stringy.
Wow.
Yeah, like there's all kind of tricks that they do. Consumers fall for it. They get something doesn't look at all like what you were advertised.
They thought they were ordering from Elmer's. Turns out they're not.
Now these guys, they don't put up with any of that.
Yeah.
They're real. They're showing you this is what it looks like. This is a populist food review channel.
Yeah.
This isn't Sean Evans sitting down on a really nice fancy set,
ready to house some glamorized wings.
No, sitting down with some star, getting political. These guys are saying, we're going to get in, we're going to do the job. We don't have the budget.
Yeah.
We're going to stay pretty apolitical.
Yeah, and we're going to have fun with it.
Yeah, we're going to let our personalities shine through. The production might not be 100%, but again, they're getting there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's embarrassing for Chick-fil-A because as the sandwich spins around on the Lazy Susan, right before it gets to their eating section of the review, just before the shot ends, we see pickles on the sandwich. They're clearly visible, and it's like, so the employee at Chick-fil-A couldn't have noticed that themselves as they were packing this thing.
And I want to say Ryan was really brave going into this first bite, taking it like a champ. He didn't take off the pickles.
No.
He said, hey, I ordered it, no pickles.
Yeah.
It was a trust bite, and ultimately his trust failed him.
Yeah. Let him down. But, I mean, it didn't quite, it didn't really hurt Chick-fil-A. He still came out with an 8.6 for this sandwich. I mean, he did say the pickles...
Realistically, with all of that condemnation for pickles, all that hatred, and then he gives it a really flattering score. Yeah. What's going on there?
I mean, he says the pickles knocked off like 0.4 points because he said it easily would have been a 9 if it weren't for those darn pickles.
Right, but the biggest discrepancy here for me is that he said, if not for the pickles, it would have been better than Popeyes.
Ryan, would it be better than Popeyes if it didn't have the pickles on it?
Popeyes?
Yeah. Would it be better than the Popeyes if it didn't have the pickles on it?
Yeah. 8.5.
Hey, yeah, I'm good.
He didn't give Popeyes a higher score than the Chick-fil-A sandwich. Chick-fil-A sandwich he gave an 8.6.
Yeah.
The Popeyes, did he give that 8.5, 8.4?
An 8.5.
Okay, so this is higher than that, and he's going back, revising something he's completely fabricating his score, completely lost.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're getting at. And look, I guess I was sympathetic with Ryan all throughout this because, I mean, he's in a tough spot having to steer the conversation and all.
Yeah.
But, Ryan, it's time to face the music. I mean, at this point, I have to question your credibility when it comes to rating these foods. I mean, first you're backing down, waffling on your Halloween candies, and then, you're just getting making these massive missteps with your scorings on the chicken sandwiches. I hope everything's okay, Ryan. I'm just like, at a certain point, I mean, if I was his dad, I think I'd have to ground him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how much homework he was dealing with around this recording. Maybe he was really stressed out or something. He had a pop quiz coming up. But again, you need to be held accountable. Yeah. The other boys aren't doing this kind of thing.
No.
You know, and that's the whole point of giving these sandwiches scores.
Yeah.
I think they could implement maybe to help some pens and paper.
Yeah, and certainly when you're doing it from a holistic approach, I mean, you're giving it just one number containing all the variables of the sandwich and what you liked about it. And it's like, it's tough to do things holistically, but it's also like, is it really so tough that you're saying that one sandwich is better than the other a minute after you said that there's no reason for it to be better than the other? It's a mess, Ryan.
It's that backtracking. It's that kind of messing with our heads.
Yeah.
Almost gaslighting the viewer into, being like, wait, did I mishear something?
Yeah, and it does feel like maybe Emmett or Hayden or Jackson probably should have intervened at this point and just...
Why do you think they didn't?
Again, I mean, he's at the head of the table. I mean, he is in certainly top dog position, and maybe the other boys they don't feel comfortable stepping into those shoes.
It'd be a 3v1 though. You think even with those numbers, the odds would still be it would be a Pyrrhic victory at best?
Yeah. I just think a mutiny this early on, I mean, I think that could hurt their credibility in the long run too, because you got to let Ryan settle into his into the throne. I mean, this is still episode 1. We have to see if these mistakes continuously happen. I'm not happy with Ryan at this point.
No.
But I think the other boys know that if they play their cards too early, could also have disastrous effects.
Well, look, I mean, Emmett was kind of in a gray space for me with his review because he gave it an 8.5, and he said it would have been a 9.5 if not for the pickles. So he put an 8.5 on the same level as Popeyes, same height, right?
Yeah.
But then he says Popeyes is a little bit better, though, which I can only assume means he's retroactively giving Popeyes a 8.6, bumping it up 0.1.
He just knows he shouldn't say it out loud. In his head, he's kicking himself for being a little too harsh on Popeyes. But, I mean, I kind of respect that approach a little more than Ryan's approach of actually coming out and saying that you're retroactively rescoring the other sandwiches.
I do respect it, and I think he definitely sort of had that clarity after the choose, because otherwise he would have just said 8.4.
Yeah.
If Popeyes was 8.5 and you felt that way going into the bite, why not just give it a 1 point lower as opposed to insinuating that the Popeyes would be 0.1 higher?
I don't know. I think he's looking at this holistically. He's saying that the Chick-fil-A is certainly like an 8.5 on a scale of 10, but the Popeyes, he's realizing, I think he just realized he made a misstep, and if he could go back, he would easily bump that to like a 9.2 or something.
Well, Jackson comes in kind of middle of the road here, 8.4.
That's right.
Hayden, an 8. These guys, nothing real too remarkable about that.
Yeah, I mean, Hayden is like really holding up the bottom of these scoring systems, except for Popeyes. He was more in the middle, but between the McDonald's and the Chick-fil-A so far, I mean, he's setting the low bar for the scores on these sandwiches.
Yeah, he definitely wants to come in, and he's sort of playing antagonist right now.
Yeah.
He's sort of playing the...
He's hard to impress.
He's the fast food villain. He's tearing them down. He's saying, you got to earn it.
Yeah, he's like the Russian sitting poolside watching the divers dive. I mean, he's going to be a tough nut to crack.
And again, I think he's coming from a place of saying, I'm barely being featured on the screen, so I'm going to have to fight for my airtime.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing in pop culture sometimes where it's like, I need to be a little bit of a contrarian.
Yeah.
To get my voice heard.
To get that airtime.
Right. And he certainly gets it. I mean, my ears perked up when he gave it an 8.
Yeah.
That was really low for Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. But it didn't drag the rating down too far. I mean, it still came out at about a 33.5 total score across the 4.
Still solid.
Boys. It's now in the middle. I mean, we have McDonald's as number 3 right now, and then Popeyes is number 1 in the running, and then Chick-fil-A is just below that at number 2. Before they move on to their final sandwich, we learn that Emmett prefers Chick-fil-A nuggets. He's not really big on the sandwiches. And then Ryan discloses that he prefers the grilled chicken. He's not really big on the fried chicken. I remember learning that Chick-fil-A, I think they use peanut oil to fry their chicken. I mean, that could be an old wives' tale or extremely outdated at this point, but I think they use a certain type of oil for frying, and I think maybe that doesn't vibe well with Ryan. I think he's more on the grilled side when it comes to Chick-fil-A's offerings.
Well, one of the boys threw out, and I wasn't sure which one it was. It happened so fast, but they said it was that they used 2 different types of chicken for the nuggets and then the chicken sandwiches. Do you think that's true?
Like grade A versus rotisserie or something? I don't know much about chickens.
Okay. I mean, I would assume it's probably the same type of chicken. Maybe it's just they cut it up smaller into nugget-sized pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine sourcing 2 entirely different breeds of chicken or whatever it takes is like, I mean, I think that's a liability for Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's a lot of things to juggle at once, especially in these limited kitchen spaces. I imagine they stick to one type of chicken.
Right. Well, there's a sort of smashing sound at around 16 minutes and 5 seconds.
That's right. It sounded almost to me like someone was cracking walnuts or something. It was an odd tone.
It's a little bit more. All right.
Yeah, it sounded like someone was like refining oil right under them.
Yeah.
It was like the click clack of machinery.
Whatever it was, I wish it'd be cut out, but I mean, that's just a note for the future. I don't think these sounds particularly add anything. But again, I'm just but one voice. I mean, maybe this does enhance other audience members, enjoyment of the show. So don't let me get in the way if other people do enjoy that kind of sound.
No, I mean, listen, I hear you. This is like the mash of podcasts, right? We have people talking over each other. I think it just adds a little bit of realism. But again, I mean, as their intent. I'm with you, though, on if we can cut it, let's cut it.
Okay. I'm glad to have you by my side on that.
I mean, look, this is a simple, let's isolate the sound and let's mute it. Yeah. I don't think it should be a huge production to do that kind of thing if you're working off of Pro Tools or Premiere.
Should be fairly simple. Yeah, I mean, we're now into the Vagabond stretch of the chicken sandwich review section.
This is the local joint.
Yeah. Looks great. I mean, it is, it's the chicken outsizes the bun in the Lazy Susan shot. Certainly a large piece of chicken. But the boys get into it. They're chewing this thing, and they all comment on how much they love the seasening.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very seasoned. It is.
It's a little dry.
But I like the seasoning on it. A little dry.
Seasoning is really good.
They reiterate this a couple times that the seasoning is awesome on this sandwich. I guess I would just love to know what kind of seasoning it might be. I don't mean to judge, but in Maryland, I know Old Bay is a typical offering as a seasoning, and I do wonder if maybe this thing had some Old Bay sprinkled into the batter for the fried chicken.
It's entirely plausible. I mean, Hayden went out to say that he thought it was a little dry.
Yeah.
So no matter how good the seasoning is, comes down to the quality of meat.
Yeah, that's actually, I should circle back. Not all boys commented on the seasoning. Hayden was, a bit of a naysayer on this sandwich, but he got drowned out. So much so that I forgot to mention that.
Well, and that's why, I mean, again, he is just hitting these chicken sandwiches where it hurts.
Yeah.
And, he finally is swallowed by the abyss.
Yeah, he's a tough critic, and the other boys, aren't really there for it.
They definitely ganged up on him there.
Yeah.
I think.
Jackson just steamrolled him. He said, the seasoning. It's awesome.
Beyond steamrolling with his voice, I mean, he physically overpowered him in the 2-shot.
That too.
He kind of blocked out the sun.
Yeah.
He sat up forward, covering Hayden's face.
Yeah, he said, hey, Icarus, get a load of this.
Right. He flew too close to the sun, and then it was a dark day.
Yeah. I mean, Hayden, we heard you loud and clear. Vagabond chicken sandwich. Prepare for it to be dry, a little dry if you order that. But that's Hayden's opinion. We out here in Los Angeles don't have the opportunity to try it. But if we're ever in Maryland, got to give it a shot, I guess.
Well, I'd love to sit down with these guys.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day we could go to Maryland, try the sandwich, and I'd love to chat it up with these guys.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I mean, I'd love to hit a local joint in Maryland with them.
Now, Ryan gave it a 9.3. So this was his highest score yet.
Yeah, this sandwich dominated the charts. Ryan said right out the gate, this is going to clear everything else.
And I think that was such a strong point, such a big score that Emmett had to follow suit. Yeah. He said, I give this anywhere. It's kind of like a 9 to a 9.3.
Yeah, he couldn't really pin one down.
He wanted to kind of cover all his bases there.
Yeah. And then we got Hayden offering an 8.9 and Jackson rounding it out with an 8.1. So Jackson ended up offering the lowest score on the Vagabond. Overall, this the sandwich itself got a total score of 35.6, putting this at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, Vagabond impressed the boys. Sandwich looked tasty, sounded tasty, perfectly seasoned, according to the boys. And, yeah, I mean, it earned the top spot.
Yeah, it's a local place, easily dethroned Popeyes. Now, I'm really wondering, though, again, and I have to just throw this out there, the integrity of the show. Vagabond is a local spot.
Yeah.
And I think they maybe bought the boys' pockets, at least with Ryan and Emmett.
You think they greased their palms?
They gave them free homemade chips.
Good chips.
Good chips. Nothing really to compare it by because no other place is doing this for us.
Yeah, no one's coming with chips.
Free chips that then the boys rated. Ryan gave them an 8.5. Emmett, 8.5. So those two are in cahoots right there with the score. Yeah. Jackson gave it a 7.5, staying true to something smells fishy to him. And then Hayden, 8.7. He's kind of flipping course. He actually gave it the highest score there.
Wait, is this on the fries? Excuse me, or the chips?
This is the chips, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes. Because
they rated the chips.
Yeah.
Now,
this is separate from the chicken sandwich scores.
Yeah, so this is the thing. They went in to give Vagabond some more airtime.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Popeyes, they didn't give the boys free chips, and I think it shows.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they're accepting any kind of offerings from Vagabond, I mean, it makes sense. Chore allowance, it's hard to keep the lights on when you're getting paid weekly. Kind of paltry sums for the hard work of mowing lawns or tearing out weeds or whatever picking up sticks, whatever it may be. I mean, if they're accepting offerings, I do think that's worth raising some eyebrows about.
Sure.
I hope they're not doing it, but I also, who can fault them with the standard of living these days? I mean, it's tough to run a podcast.
Totally.
As for young entrepreneurs and to run it so deftly, it's going to take a lot. And look, I hope it's not influencing your scores, guys, but if
it clearly is. It clearly is. And I'm not upset about it. And I'm actually, if they are to take money from anyone, I'm happy it's a local joint.
Yeah.
Again,
small business.
This isn't McDonald's or any of these other companies that, who knows, what hands that money's going through. They're investing in all kinds of things globally.
What kind of things they're bankrolling? I mean, it's
meddling in global economics, destabilizing entire regions just to make shareholders happy.
Now, I'm sure the fine folks over at Vagabond wouldn't dare to dream such things.
No, I mean, they dare to make the chicken dry and get heavily rewarded for it, though.
Look, they season it too. It seems really well seasoned.
I know, but in a place like Maryland, where the gold standard is Old Bay, which is already, everything is seasoned so well. I mean, you have a glass of water, and you're going to taste some paprika in that thing. So this, I don't know what kind of seasoning this is. I'm just saying, whatever it is, what kind of blend, it's got to be pretty goddamn good. I want to try it myself.
Yeah, I think we got to put the chicken where our mouths is before we, get too caught up in this. I mean, this is a local affair.
Now, I think what makes it even more obvious, the bankrolling of the show by Vagabond, was that there was the Vagabond logo, like when it came up for the shows, flashed on screen again after they were done with this.
For the one, I'm gonna give.
Yeah.
Why? Why include that?
It seemed like a technical glitch.
Oh, that'd be so easy to edit out. They bought some extra airtime.
I mean, there were plenty of other, like the sound blips and the other cut, like they were just jump
But
cut.
they weren't advertising brands. I mean, this is just a conflict of interests.
The editor might have been asleep at the wheel. And I think, I don't know.
Because, and I will go so far as to say, they had the McDonald's Coke. That didn't influence their scores. So maybe these chips were just so good.
It's possible.
I mean, they're homemade.
They look good.
They look great. They looked a little dry. One of the boys complained that they were a little hard. To me, that's what you're going to get with a chip, unless it's a pita chip.
But they also said that it had great seasoning. Now, at 18 minutes and 13 seconds, it looked like Ryan burped.
It's a little it's like...
It looked like he opened his mouth a little bit, and then a sound was emitted. It was brief, but did sound like a burp. Seemed a little unprofessional. I don't know if Ryan really practiced his table manners. He didn't even go so far as to say an excuse me. And if this wasn't a burp, I don't mean to pin this on Ryan.
In some cultures, it's polite to burp.
Is that
after
so?
eating? And I mean, I think when you're in middle school, maybe that's a sign of respect. I don't know, what their kind of manners are like over there.
Yeah.
We grew up in Pennsylvania.
Just a couple states up.
So who knows? And again, even if it weren't culturally sound, I think if anything, it's just the brute force of, a group leader like that.
Yeah.
Saying, I can do whatever I want. This is effectively the Ryan and the Foodie Boy show.
I mean, I hope he's not.
It is.
I hope he's not trying to do that. I mean, I think Foodie is a perfectly.
I don't care if he does.
Encapsulates everything that's necessary. It brings the four boys together. I don't think Ryan needs to separate himself. But
he's an entertainer. He could easily start his own podcast. I mean, he's got us in quite a whirlwind right now emotionally. I mean, he could easily do his own solo pod and just cover, whatever events have been happening that week and make a killing. I'm sure he could easily bring in sponsors like MeUndies and, BetterHelp and anything. I'm sure he'd be making a lot of money.
I mean, he certainly starts discourses, but again, I think I like to see the four boys together. I like what we saw in this first episode, and
as do I. Maybe I'm just a little scared
of him branching out and doing his own thing.
Maybe I'm just a little scared that, a guy like Hayden wants to go against the grain and he's punished for it. He's persecuted, both, physically, we don't even see him in the frame.
Yeah.
He gets drowned out with his voice. Obviously there's contention, and it's fractured with Jackson.
Yeah.
And him. I think Emmett definitely follows suit.
Yeah, Emmett's a rule follower, he's following the trend, following the leader.
Now, I don't know if he thinks he could be rewarded one day with group leader through his loyalty. I mean, think about the fact that he oftentimes matched Ryan's scores, like in the chips from Vagabond. Ryan says 8.5. Emmett has the ball now, could say anything.
8.5, because, it's just a chip. You can't go wrong with the chip. What do you got?
I'm going to go with, an 8.5 as well.
But who are we to say that his score wasn't accurate, that wasn't what he felt in his heart?
Sure, I do find it a little suspicious, though. He could have said 8.4, 8.6 to get the exact same score.
But he might have felt 8.5 was right on the money.
But then Jackson gives it a whole point lower? And then Hayden gives it a whole 0.2 points higher? I mean, they're all over the place there, but those two are in synchronicity.
Again, I mean, you're coming from a background of eating Toblerones and chocolate turtles and broccolini. I mean, I think your taste palette might be a little bit off kilter from what these boys are adjusted to.
Well, I think it's the fact that we don't have a Vagabond here in LA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe these are just incredible chips.
We've got Dave's Hot Chicken. We could try, that might be a stand-in if we wanted to check that out and see how it might compare to Vagabond.
But listen, this is something I do want to keep my eye on, and I really want you to just, closely as you can, follow these two guys. I think Emmett and Ryan, that's something I want to watch, that dynamic, how it evolves, how it changes. Does Emmett kind of splinter off, or does he only get further aligned with Ryan's views?
Yeah. I mean, it will be interesting to watch. I will give you that. But
now, the boys said in future episodes, they'd like to try wings, pizza,
donuts, and then mac and cheese Emmett offers up. Jackson pushes back on this, but Ryan stands firmly with Emmett, says mac and cheese is great. That would be a really fun thing to review.
I really like the wings idea.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
That
That's actually pretty good. That's valid.
So it seems like...
Rewarding him for his 8.5 on the chips.
Okay.
He has his back against Jackson.
You're going to be a contrarian and say mac and cheese wouldn't be good to review?
I'd love to review it.
Okay.
I'm just saying I think it's very clear you grease someone's palms, they got your back. Emmett had Ryan's back with a chip score, and then Ryan was sure to defend Emmett's honor in the face of Jackson full-on assaulting their integrity there.
I just think Jackson was out of his mind when he was trying to shut down mac and cheese as a recommendation. I think we have to start there. Who started that discourse? Because Emmett just threw out mac and cheese. He wasn't even like, we have to do it.
Okay.
Jackson was like, oh, no. I mean, he's got to be out of his gourd.
But I think, again, Jackson, he was down for wings and pizza.
Yeah.
So this isn't
traditional fare.
This isn't a totally fringe view.
Yeah.
I think he's probably just saying, I don't want to go all cheese. Who knows? Maybe he has IBS.
Okay.
Maybe he'd crap himself.
Okay.
I have colitis myself, and eating cheese sometimes around guys like that and reviewing it, I'd be a little uncomfortable there. So I think Jackson was fully in the right.
I think you're forgetting that he orders cheese in his Chipotle bowl. He keeps a pretty plain bowl, rice, beans, cheese, and chicken. So again, I think...
he orders cheese, not queso. I can eat cheese like that too, not queso. I mean, I think the thing is, Jackson, fully in the right, and I'm going to push you there.
Okay.
And I think this is just clear. It could not be clearer.
Patronage of...
Emmett and Ryan, they're two peas in a pod. They're the two guys that have solo shots.
Yeah.
Think about that. Why does Emmett have a solo shot and Jackson doesn't?
Look, I don't know.
I mean, he was certainly rewarded for his fealty.
I don't know if they flipped a coin. That could have been all it was.
I just don't buy that. If they're all putting in equal chore money, and who knows? Maybe it's the chore theory. I don't know what else it could be, but I think Jackson was, he was slapped right there across the face.
Yeah, he should have been reprimanded. I'll defend that. I mean, I think there's certain moments where you might be onto something, and I'm excited and interested in seeing how this unravels. But for now, I'm just like, look, Ryan's got his flaws. I don't know if he entirely deserves to be the leader.
I think
of the
he should be stripped of his title.
Look, I
think it should. The other three boys should be able to dogpile on it, fight for themselves. And listen, there's no favoritism here for me to Hayden.
Yeah.
None to Jackson. None to Emmett. I think they're all on equal standing. But
you like an underdog story.
Watching Ryan's behavior, I was shocked. That's not someone that I want to be kicking off the food reviews. That they're going back. They're wishy-washy. And let's talk about how they ended this thing.
Yeah.
Because if you thought any of that was scandalous, I think Ryan put the final nail in the coffin.
I know you've been waiting to get to this. And look, Ryan, he messed up big time. I don't even know why they jammed this in, honestly. They wanted to go backtrack, and reiterate their final rankings, each of them, of the 4 chicken sandwiches that they had reviewed this episode.
What's their final ranking?
Of what?
Of the chicken sandwiches.
Okay, go 1, 2, 3, 4.
And they go one by one, and, I mean, Ryan starts, and just, he flubs it. He
flubs it hard because this is the context here.
Yeah.
We've gone through the 4 sandwiches. We've given them their scores.
Yeah.
We've cemented it in the graphics.
Yeah.
And then Ryan goes and they say, let's rank them. So they've already been ranked. And then Ryan says Popeyes, Vagabond, Chick-fil-A, and then McCrispy. Not at all lining up with what he rated them.
I'm going to give it to Popeyes. 2, I'm going to give Vagabond. 3, I'm going to give Chick-fil-A. And then 4, the McCrispy. That was just...
So that to me is saying all I need to hear. The numbers don't matter. It's feeling over anything. Empirical data is worthless. And whatever Ryan says goes. And no one pushes back on that. And I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that's fair.
Okay, look, he put Popeyes over Vagabond when previously Vagabond was a clear winner over Popeyes in his view.
And if
disgusting.
My theory holds up...
That's an abuse of power.
If my theory holds up that Vagabond even line his pockets. Yeah. He is so ruthless that it is just, to him, it's this fleeting sensation of, what am I feeling good in the moment? Yeah. Popeyes has a nice ring to it. That's number one. Well, you didn't give it the highest score. Yeah. If that's number one, it should have been at least 9.5 or higher.
Yeah, I mean, right? This was total anarchy. I mean, when you switch up two of these, you might as well switch them all up. Because, Ryan, you really damaged your public reputation here.
It makes me feel like my time was a little wasted.
Yeah.
Because why even go through all the, crap of giving them the scores? Why not just do this at the end? I'm fine with that.
It's going to be a tough road ahead, Ryan, to regain the trust in your leadership abilities. I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know if you got caught up in the moment. I'm tired of making excuses, though, at this point in the episode. I mean, it's been egregious mistake after egregious mistake. And this just really, it ended on a sour note, the episode. Because the rest of the boys, they went through and all their scores lined up with the scores they had given prior.
Yeah.
Their rankings made sense. But Ryan, you failed that.
And so Emmett and Jackson... their scores lined up. Emmett said Vagabond, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, the McDonald's. Jackson said Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, Vagabond, and McDonald's. You cannot buy his scores, by the way. Vagabond, you can't do it.
Second from the bottom.
That's a step above McDonald's, which is absolute crap.
Yeah.
Like dog dirt at its finest.
Like hard bun. Like this thing is stale.
Yeah, and if the bun doesn't work, you're just eating a piece of chicken.
Yeah. And you go to McDonald's for the burger. What are you doing? For chicken, that's like a new addition.
These guys could still get away with a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, you could walk out of there with a free toy.
Yeah.
Okay. Why are we even playing this game? Yeah. Hayden, Vagabond, Popeyes, McDonald's, and then Chick-fil-A. I hate to say it, this one did not line up.
Wait, did it not?
No, it didn't, because McDonald's. Let's think back. McDonald's, he gave it a 5.7. That was the most brutal score. He absolutely annihilated McDonald's with a 5.7. Right. Yep. And then he put Chick-fil-A. He put Chick-fil-A under it. And you know what?
Hayden, my guy.
This is what happened. This is the pickles. The pickles are going to make or break it. So, again, even though in the moment he said the fundamentals of Chick-fil-A are looking better, the technicals are tight. It's just there's one element I want to tweak. The pickles.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a feeling. It's a rage against the pickles, and that is definitely going to influence his final score.
Wow. I mean, I really don't appreciate the incongruity between the prior final scores and the final rankings of Ryan and Hayden. I don't know what was going on that day.
What's the through line with Hayden? Why is he making Ryan the same mistake? Do you think this is kind of him lashing out against being misheard?
It's possible. I don't know.
Do you think he was trying to kiss the ring a little bit and say, well, if this is Ryan's way of doing things,
well, it's certainly
maybe that I'll latch on to that and then see if I could get my own solo shot.
It just certainly doesn't curry favor with him in the audience. I just think, I don't know what this little act of rebellion was. I don't think it is going to be appreciated by the wider audiences, but
he didn't want Ryan hanging on the flotsam alone of this completely destroyed rating system.
I mean, look,
he was lending out a hand, and it was very much the Titanic had crashed, and he grabbed him.
I mean,
saved him.
Here's an idea: if Hayden and Ryan want to flub their final rankings, how about they share a frame next episode? They become the new bunk bed boys. Move Jackson into the solo shot. Get Ryan and Hayden on the side of the table where they're joined in a 2-shot. That might be fair consequence. I mean, there has to be accountability when it comes to ranking foods.
Chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, because, I mean, the audience is coming here to listen to you offer, your detailed breakdowns of what makes a sandwich good, why you would place it above other sandwiches. And if you just can't get your stuff together, it's not a good look on your show. And I think, there's got to be some kind of punishment.
I mean, again, we said we would hold their feet to the fire, and I think this is the only way they're going to grow.
This is all about improvement. Like, ultimately, we just want to see a better episode next week. and a better episode after that, and a better episode, and you get the point. I mean, we just want to see better podcasts always improving.
Yeah. So again, key takeaways here. Let's get the score system completely revamped.
Yeah.
This needs to be write down the score. Don't say anything. We don't want to influence anyone's thing. This is not direct democracy. No. Okay. This is definitely serving as more of a republic. It might as well just be we all vote to send Ryan out.
It's certainly laissez-faire.
It's horrendous. I mean, it's such a mess. It needs to be rectified. But
I mean, they close out giving McDonald's Coke an honorary mention. They say how great it is.
McDonald's Coke, top tier, best
Yeah,
Coke.
this is top tier. All right.
What's not to love about it? But you think though that Jackson is more deserving on episode 2 of a solo shot?
After seeing Ryan's performance this episode, the choices he made as the leader of the discussion, I think Jackson could step up to the plate here. I think Ryan should take some time on the sidelines. But again, it's not that I don't think Ryan can, that he can't be a good host, because I think he can be in the future. I just think he needs more training, more media training, and I think he'll get there. It's all learning experience, and hell, maybe Jackson will get all flustered in that seat. Maybe it's the seat itself. Maybe Jackson next episode, if he gets the hot seat, maybe he flubs it too.
But I was thinking that too, but then it made me realize Emmett.
Yeah.
Honestly, pretty clean record as far as voting goes.
Certainly
I think
spotless.
Out of all these guys, I think he was the most consistent. If you were to totally look at it a blind eye and say he was not in cahoots with Ryan at all for some of the scores, to keep his solo shot, to maybe get the solo shot in the first place. So if that wasn't the case, I would say his scores pretty normal to me for a middle schooler.
Yeah, I mean, Emmett, I think, really spoke to me this episode, because even just going back to his Halloween candy choices, again, really resonated with me. And then his choice of vegetables that he doesn't like, really, I mean, I'm on the same page with him. Look, I'm happy seeing him in the one shot. I think he's earned that.
Yeah, I mean, look, all these guys are great. Okay, they're incredible. It's just a matter of, if you're going to play around with numbers like that and start fabricating data, especially with chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
This is a staple in the American diet.
Yeah.
We're going to hold you accountable. But otherwise, I think this was a really, really strong start to a podcast.
An incredible pilot episode.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where the series goes, how the dynamics kind of shift, what kind of food they're going to be trying next, whether Jackson ever will try vegetables.
Yeah, that's to be seen.
And so, guys, thank you for checking out this episode of Talk Tuah. The Foodie Boys have another podcast episode. So, if Haliey, if she's still and Chelsea taking a break, then, maybe we'll hit that. Again, we have a lot of podcasts we want to cover.
Yeah, there's so many podcasts out there. So many to break down and enjoy and really analyze. And I mean, yeah, this was a great little foray away from Haliey. But look, Haliey, we're still close by if you come back. So be tuned for upcoming episodes where we break down Talk Tuah episodes or MdFoodieBoyz or other podcasts or content creators. I mean, there's a whole world out there, and we're just so excited and honored to have you by our sides, listening every week, checking out our clips, all our junior analysts. We can't wait to hear your takes on some of the MdFoodieBoyz, technical and creative choices in this first episode. So thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.